Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show, covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. Wow, I'm trying to do two things at once here. Like I noted last night, I am trying to help somebody in their fantasy draft. Trying to have somebody in the fantasy draft. So I'm on the multitask tonight's show. We got a lot of things going on. I have all night tonight with a lot of things going on. First of all, I want to thank everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I'm your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Also, check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our website, www.the110nationsports.com. For all the latest, and I was up hella late last night. Yes, I used hella late. Hella late last night getting press releases out, and I don't even think I got about half of them out. So we'll be hitting hard again tonight, getting the rest of the press releases out, plus the new ones that came out today. And I believe Bizzo might have even had an article come out. I know he was working on something last night. And speaking of Bizzo, we've got him joining the show tonight at 8:30 to talk NHL. Got a couple hot topics that he wants to jump into as we're continuing the dog days of the summer and the off season for the NHL, and rapidly coming up. I think we're about 11 days from the World Cup of hockey. So I'm looking for that, and you guys need to jump over and check out his articles. He's been writing about it for the last week or two, so you guys check that out as well. Then at 9 o'clock, we got Dominique, and I know I'm about to really, and I hate trying to do this, because I know that I messed this up. Van Waringen, that's what I'm going to go with. Can't prove it, but that's what I'm going with. At 9 o'clock, she has been on the show once or twice. I know at least once. We're going to catch up, see how her season's going. She had a personal best 2 nights ago. So looking forward to having her on the show and catching up with her to see how the season has been going. And at Greenville Pickens Speedway, career best finish in the division, the second highest amongst female competitors in the series. Mm-hmm. So we're going to. We're going to catch up with her. Then at 9:30, we're going to be joined by Clint King. So looking forward for the opportunity to have him on the show for the first time. And well, while I'm doing this, is we're getting this thing wrapped up. Let me get Mike in the studio. Mike's going to be hanging out with us tonight. Usually we bring Mike in, and he helps out with the show, and then usually we kind of go our separate ways and bring the guest on. But tonight we're going to have Mike hang out with us out throughout the show. and help be part of the whole process tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. But let's get Mike on the show, see what we got going on Friday night, how he can be followed, how he can be liked. I'm sure we got some topics that we need to jump into before we get Izzo in the house. So let's do that, and let's get this thing kicked off. Before you speak, Mike, I got to thank Fit for Life. Make sure you guys check them out on Facebook, Fit for Life. You can also go to our site, www.the110nationsports.com. Click on the banner on the right-hand side. It gives you an opportunity to find out where the closest gym is to you. 24/7, 365. Get your gym on. Clean, courteous, everything you can possibly need. Make sure you guys check them out. Like I said, Fit for Life. Also got to thank Snafu Seasoning, the official sponsor of Racing with Big Sweat, Thursday night, 9 p.m. Make sure you guys call in, participate in the show. Big Sweat himself will hook you up with a bottle of Snafu Seasoning. 100% all-natural, no preservative meat rub. Great on anything. Make sure you guys tune in. Also got to thank the I-95 Sports Network for rebroadcasting our shows. It was great to be able to hear our shows being played on other networks. And also got to thank Mile High Radio as well for rebroadcasting our shows as well. Great opportunity to get our shows spread even farther down, up and down the East Coast and out. I guess Colorado's considered the mid. Is that the Midwest or just the West? What is it, Mike? Is Denver just the West, or is that weed county or weed country? I guess it's legalized. I guess the best way to describe it. How would you describe Denver?
It's basically mountain region. So it's, when they talk about east, central, and west, they leave out really Denver, which is like mountain time, but also they consider that a mountain region. So I think there's really four. If you break the United States down, I think it's really four regions, but people always just refer to east, central, or Midwest and west. But Colorado and Utah, I believe, are considered mountain region is what it's called when you have like TV listings and so forth. So that's like a separate. You're correct in that area, but I think it's referred to as mountain region or mountain time.
Well, I was sure, but I gotta, I guess I should have thought about that. But I gotta be thankful for them rebroadcasting our shows and rebroadcasting our shows and help us continue to grow. I want to throw out.
It's interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I said it was interesting. Just a point that I was going to bring up was it's interesting that they are coming on in the same week that Martin Truex won the Sprint Cup in Darlington race, and Truex's area or team is from the mountain area. There you go. The Mile High area of Denver. So there you go. It's just ironic that they're coming on our network or their network is adding us or however you want to put it on the same week that Martin Truex had a win.
I want to throw out there before we jump into the topics. I just want to get I want to throw out our team that we've gotten so far. It's not really my team, and I'm just trying to give advice. I can't actually see the draft board. I honestly thought that I thought I was going to be able to see the draft and be a little bit more hands-on participation and help her out. So it's kind of, she's trying to message me as many players that have been drafted and trying to keep me up to date. And so it's been kind of hit and miss. But this is what we're looking at so far. Our first pick was Cam Newton. We had the number 5 pick overall. So with Antonio being Brown, or being Brown. There we go. With Antonio being Brown. With Antonio being gone, Antonio Brown being gone, Adrian Peterson was gone. Trying to see who else was gone real quick out the gates.
If you're picking five,
Antonio Brown, Antonio Brown, Adrian Peterson, Todd Gurley, and Ezekiel Elliott were all off the table right out the gate. We went with what we thought was the next best opportunity by adding Cam Newton to the roster. We ended up picking up so far for our 2 wide receivers. Unless she finds somebody else to start, we're going to have Dez Bryant of the Dallas Cowboys and Deshaun Jackson of the Washington Redskins. For our wide receivers, running backs, we got DeMarco Murray and Latavius Murray of Oakland. And let's see, our defensive back. I've never played with a defensive back before. This was something different for me. We got Josh Norman, who was one of the best defensive backs in 2015. Our tight end, Jimmy Graham. Hopefully this year will be a little bit better in that Seattle organization. Our defense, the number one defense of last year, the Denver Broncos. We also picked up Danny Woodhead, and it looks like we just got she's throwing out names. I will keep you guys updated on who we might pick up next. But what topics do we got to tackle into tonight?
Okay, as far as what I'm putting up, or eventually I'll put up tomorrow. Unfortunately, today I was spent half the day in the doctor's office, so that wasn't too swift. But tomorrow I have some articles to put up, and also I will write a new golf story. And I finally got on to the PGA Tour golf website, which will give me an insight into the tournaments that come up every week that are not as famous or as popular, and this way I'll be able to do a golf story every week. So the first one of those will go up, that's not Olympic related, will go up tomorrow, and just generally NASCAR stuff, and nothing really broke new except Darlington, an additional thing with Martin. And I think Miss Lee put up a story today that I caught in between my visits back and forth today about Kyle Larson. His team is apparently teaming with somebody else to do or to team up in some area. I have to read that more completely, but that was on Steve's page, the NASCAR and other racing page. So I'll peruse that and give you more complete details on that.
Speaking of Kyle Larson, did you also see where he's got that interview coming out on the podcast that they basically, he was interviewed while he was still coming up before he signed with Chip Ganassi Racing. He interviewed with other teams, and teams were wanting him to bring $500,000 and bring sponsors and everything else. And he pretty much said, I've never paid for a spot. My resume speaks for itself. It's kind of essentially what I got out of it. And Chip Ganassi was the first one to talk to him that wasn't expecting him to bring something to the table other than his skills, and he's going to be forever loyal. And
right, and it's going to be interesting. That particular team for next year, CJ, is a team that I can't see him getting out of NASCAR, but what they're going to do when Target walks away. Because Target has been the main sponsor on their car for so long. In fact, I can't remember when Ganassi's team wasn't sponsored by Target. And now they're, for 2017, earlier this season, they made I guess Target made the announcement that they're not coming back. So that's going to be interesting to see who Ganassi picks up with the same type of commitment, because there are always associate sponsors, but I really couldn't tell you with the way their car is not just painted up, but that's supposed to signify the nature of the sponsor. And if you look at their car, the only thing that sticks out is the Target sponsorship and the Target logo. So it's going to be interesting to see who they sign with or who signs with them that is willing to offer the same type of commitment, dollars-wise.
I guess it's just crazy to hear them talk about what these owners are basically, what they're expecting these drivers to bring to the table. And not only that, to me, how crazy it is to hear a driver actually be open and honest about it. Talking about, I sat down with many owners, and basically they all told me the same thing. Either you come with a whole crap ton of money, you come with some kind of sponsor commitment before we're even going to talk to you. And to know that, one, to kind of hear that, and that kind of be, to hear that, and it that kind of, kind of that exposure just kind of blew my mind for it to be actually out there in Poland, and I don't know, I'm not going to say rear its ugly head, but it makes, it makes, I don't know, I understand it's a business deal and everything else, and it's a business, but it just kind of makes it sound like, these owners are not looking out for the drivers and looking at the talent. They're just worried about the dollar sign. And I understand it takes a lot of money to make this a team to function well and for this all to work. But if you don't have talent and you're not willing to take a chance, then how are you ever supposed to build a great team and a team that great drivers are going to want to go to?
Yeah, and the other thing that, as you were talking about the different sponsors too, that popped into my mind. Now, we just mentioned Furniture Row, with Eric Jones signing on with Furniture Row. My understanding when they made that announcement was they made like two separate announcements at a particular press conference, one being obviously that Jones was going to drive, but I don't think he at least openly brought any sponsors with him, because the sponsor they signed was 5 Hour Energy from Clint Boyer's team. So I don't know. I'm sure maybe he brought an associate sponsor on the car, maybe here and there. But the main sponsor that Furniture Row signed up for next year, in addition to whoever else they have, would be 5 Hour Energy, and that's from Clint Boyer. Or they left, 5 Hour Energy left Clint Boyer. So that's not a company or a sponsor that Eric Jones brought with him to the team.
I also want to congratulate Erica Enders, two-time Pro Stock champion, defending champion. We had her on the show a couple weeks ago. I'm going to have an opportunity to actually get up with her in a couple weeks here at the Carolina Nationals, 9th Annual Carolina Nationals here in Charlotte, North Carolina. But she clinched her opportunity to be in the countdown to the championship again this year. So very, very happy for her. Great guest, has given us her time a couple times, once this year, once last year. I'm beyond excited at having the opportunity to physically meet her face-to-face and sit in that big, bad machine, that she drives. But I do want to congratulate Erica Enders for clinching that opportunity, and we'll see if she can make it a three-peat this year.
Yep, definitely, and I'm sure you'll have a couple of pictures to send back to post on your Facebook or whatever. So hopefully she'll even autograph a picture for you. So, but she was one, and then she was always she mentioned a couple of times her teammate who also made it. I think as I was reading the press release last night that I was helping you with, that you straightened me out on, and from now on I will do better. Was the Jed Coughlin one, where he made it on points. So I read that he was eliminated in the first round, but made it on points. So they both will be in action when you're there in person, and basically going to the championship round or the championship, whatever it's called for them, not the chase, but is it the showdown or something like that?
I think it's the countdown or something.
The countdown is what it's called. So that particular team will be totally represented, because I think there's two in that division. In that one is, of course, Pro Stock, and Coughlin is the second car. There are actually two cars on that team. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see that they both do well in the countdown. So, any other? Trying to think of the arc of people that has, like you said, have been on. More ARCA people have been on, but who is clinched? Are they? It's ARCA in the same as far as the season. Are they still? Have some people clinched for the ARCA championship yet, or how many? What's the difference in the races for them? Is there a championship round for them, or is that a little different?
I think that's a little bit different. I don't think they have the
right. I don't think. Yeah. No, I can't remember myself, but I think nothing sticks out as okay. The last whatever many races, they just go to the end, and whoever's in the first spot is declared the champion of that particular division, trucks or cars or whatever the divisions. However the divisions break down. We've had truck drivers on, and we've had, obviously late model drivers as well.
As I'm sitting here doing this fantasy draft and helping out with this, one, have you ever participated in a
not the football one, although I'm familiar with, football, certain players or whatever. I have, for 2 years, I have been with this year I was with Pete's group from Riverhead. We've had Jeff Rogers on my show, the Pit Stop Pitbull team. And I participate in the NASCAR fantasy team, where I have a fantasy team of my own in that league. And my five, for those people that don't follow it on Facebook and on Steve's page, my five are Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart. My fourth is that's my fifth, is Reagan Smith. And my fifth one, I'm seeing who I left out here off the top of my head. Kyle Harvick, Tony, and I can't off the top of my head remember my fourth guy. I'll think of it during the show and let you know. But
well, I was kind of wanting to reference on how fantasy sports has really taken off, but this opens me up for a whole other question. One, tomorrow night, this is not the question, but tomorrow night, Mike and myself, we will be giving our Week 1 predictions to the NFL. And if anybody else wants to send in their picks, we would love to kind of make this a friendly competition to see who ends up with a best record for the end of the year. If we get enough for participation, we'll come up with some kind of contest and whatnot. Maybe we'll tweet that out and post that out on Facebook. But back to talking about fantasy, and we're talking about NASCAR right before we get Enzo into the studio. Going into the chase, what 3 drivers that are participating in the chase would you want to be on your fantasy team? If you had to pick a 3-man team of the drivers going into the chase this year, what 3 drivers would you take?
Well, I've already got 2 of them on my fantasy team, Harvick and Kyle. And then I don't know who the third one would be of all the winners. From a consistency standpoint, I mean, Kyle has won a lot of races this year. Harvick, too. The thing about Harvick that is interesting to me, I mean, he dominated last week and then obviously ran into problems with his pit crew, which you well documented, which we started to talk about. But the thing about Harvick that is intriguing to me, usually you can pick out a driver and say he does well at one particular track over another. The thing with Harvick is he does well on the western swing all the time. I can remember people saying, well, he's from out west and blah, 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 and, but usually it's that 3, and he did it again this year at the beginning of the year, that 3 or 4 tracks out west, that Auto Club, the Las Vegas track, the Las Vegas Speedway, and Phoenix. And those 3 races, if you go back over Kevin Harvick's career, the majority of the time he has won those races. And everybody mentions him on the western swing. And then if he struggles at all, he'll struggle at other tracks. And then, but the difference with him is he can struggle at a few tracks, but I can very rarely remember him having an issue with out west. For some reason, he does really well, and it's not just the home advantage or whatever. He does very well at out west, year in and year out. So that's interesting. I'm going to have to break away for about 5 minutes, CJ, and then I'll be back.
Okay, you're fine. My 3 for the fantasy, and you go ahead. My 3 is a fantasy. I would take, and Shorty's obviously want to give her opinion, and we'll get Enzo into the studio. My 3 is I'm going to take Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson's had 3 or 4 top 6 finishes going into the chase. Probably one of the hottest drivers. Never mind that post-race inspection that they didn't pass. I'm not worried about that. Kyle Larson is hitting the hot streak right at the right time. That's the 3 I would pick. Shorty, who are the 3 you're going to pick for your fantasy team going into the chase?
Calling, or trying to talk to you about, but Kyle, and Harvick. What did you pick?
And what was you what?
I said Kyle, and Harvick. I like Harvick.
I heard that.
I like Kyle Larson too. He's about my size. And then I like Kyle Busch because he he came back from an awful thing and completely dominated last year. So but I was a little butthurt when I tuned in and heard you talking about how you guys were going to be talking about your NFL picks tomorrow night, and you said it was you and Mike, and you didn't include me.
Do we need to remind everybody how badly I beat you last year?
You didn't beat me that badly last year. The year before you did, but last year it wasn't that bad. Not at the end of the year. We stopped counting, but I was only down by like 7. I'm pretty sure it's still on the side of the refrigerator.
Yeah, I was up by like a whole at least 1 week. I could have lost.
Yeah, you were at one point, but then you sucked a couple weeks. I still want to be involved in it. Heck, I might still. I might go down to the barbershop and still join into the barbershop.
At the barbershop.
Maybe I can get some people at Domino's to join in, and we can just make our own. How many people you got at
well, look, Jimmy's don't stop by, so I already know that we can get into that one. So.
Yeah. How many people you think you might have at work that might want to participate in ours if I do like to make one?
All right, well, let me jump off here. We got Izzo in the studio, and we need to get him on the show.
You didn't answer the question.
What was the question?
I said, do you think anybody at work would participate in it at your job if I decided to?
Kevin might. We all know that London's not going to.
He's a little girl.
He's a little something. I don't know if I'd say girl, but he's definitely a little something.
But, all right, well, get Izzo in. Get me out. I'm pulling back up at the store. And I would just like to, before you do get me out, I would just like to say to all of our listeners, if you don't tip your drivers, tip your drivers. Start tipping. Most drivers get paid less than minimum wage to deliver your food. If you don't tip if you have enough money to buy pizza or whatever you're getting delivered, you have enough money to leave a tip. With that, I'm out. Bye.
All right, without any further delay, let's get our NHL expert in here. Izzo is joining the studio. How you doing tonight, Izzo?
I'm doing pretty good. Looking at some roster moves that have been made here for the World Cup. Just kind of kicking back and wait until the 17th, Jay.
Wait until the 17th. I want to do one quick update for those that were listening to the beginning of the show. I am helping somebody do a fantasy draft. I thought I was actually going to be able to participate in the studio. They wouldn't let us both be logged in at the same time, and so we've been trying to message as best as we can. So I want to give you guys what our roster is looking like. Then I'm going to let Izzo let you guys know how to follow him, and we got some topics to jump into. But right now, the way we're looking at, we got Cam Newton and Derek Carr, our quarterbacks. We got DeMarco Murray, and we got Latavius Murray and Isaiah Crowell as our running backs. Wide receivers, we went with Dez Bryant, Deshaun Jackson, and that's it. How did we end up with 2 wide receivers? Our tight ends, Jimmy Graham and Julius Thomas. Our flex position, we got Danny Woodhead, but we could use him as a running back regardless. Defense, we got the number 1 defense in the Denver Broncos, and we also added the Minnesota Vikings. Our kickers, we got Dan Bailey of the Dallas Cowboys and Gano of the Carolina Panthers. And our defensive players, we got Josh Norman with the Washington Redskins. So a pretty decent team, like what we got. But let the fans know how to follow you, Izzo, and let's get into what you came onto the show for.
Well, you can follow me at 110 Puckhead. Like I said, we're counting down to the 17th. We're about 11 days away, about 35 days away from the NHL regular season. So shoot me a tweet at 110 Puckhead.
What do we have on the agenda tonight?
Well, the last couple weeks, NHL.com has been releasing out the top 50 players in the league, and I've been paying attention closely to it. The 10 through 1 spot was just recently released, and usually that's where we're going to see a lot of high-end talent, a lot of guys in the running for the Art Ross or the Vezina Trophy, depending on what position they play. But we're going to focus on the top 10 here because this is a lot different than I would expected it to be. But coming in at number 10, Joe Pavelski, captain of the San Jose Sharks. As we all know, the Sharks went to the Stanley Cup for the first time in their franchise and dropped it in 6 games to Pittsburgh. Pavelski's only 32 right now. He's still in the prime of his career. 78 points last season, 38 goals, 40 assists. So it's his third straight season, regular season with at least 70 points, and pretty much continued that tear through the playoffs, where he had 23 points in the playoffs, 14 goals, 9 assists in 24 games. So he was a big reason why the Sharks had so much success in the playoffs and everything, him attacking that slot area, that low slot area between the circles. That's where he likes to generate points, and he's very dangerous with it, too. Number 9, Jonathan Toews, captain of the Blackhawks, probably one of the best captains of all of sports right now, a true leader, exemplifies leadership on and off the ice. He's only 28, so he's a proven star, 3-time Cup champion. He's had over 50 points in his full 8 seasons. In 8 seasons, 65 points in 5 other seasons. So he's been in the league now for about 11 years. Like I said, great leader. Probably my favorite captain of the league right now, just because of what he does on and off the ice. Number 8, goaltender Carey Price from the Montreal Canadiens. I was a little skeptical about this one just because that Carey Price has been having some injury woes, problems of that sort the last few years. As we all know, he was part of that miraculous start of last season, where they went on that unbeaten streak there at the beginning of the season, and then went down to injury. This guy is a critical piece for Montreal. If they want to win and make the playoffs and do well in the playoffs, Carey Price has to have a good season. He's got to have a healthy season nonetheless. Number 7, Erik Karlsson, captain of the Ottawa Senators. This guy is like the modern-day Bobby Orr. He can do it all. Score, play defense. It's crazy. He's only 26. He had 82 points last season with 16 goals and a league-high 66 assists in all 82 games. He's ranked 5th in NHL scoring and led defenseman in scoring for a 3rd straight season this past year. So he's got 2 Norris trophies right now as the best defenseman in the league. He's going to need a bigger trophy shelf, Jay. He's going to have plenty more of them. He can easily win 4, 5, 6, 7 more. He could be, one of the all-time great defensemen in the league, ever. So, his name being thrown around with Bobby Orr's name is not an understatement, or guys like Paul Coffey or anything like that. So he's definitely well-deserved of the title. Number 6, another defenseman, Drew Doughty of the LA Kings. Doughty, who is also 26, has been a Stanley Cup champion and an All-Star. He's never won a Norris Trophy, though, and I think that's really kind of wrong, really. But when you're going up against guys like Karlsson and all these other great defensemen around the league, John Carlson, Erik Karlsson, Drew Doughty, Chris Letang, these guys are just the top of the defensive, game in the league right now. He had 51 points last year, 14 goals, 37 assists, and a +24 rating in 82 games. So here's another guy who's, durable, being able to play all 82 games, another big key piece for the Kings for them to succeed. So he's always on that power play. He can kill penalties. He can score 5-on-5. So he is definitely a dangerous two-way player on the back end. Number 5, Brayton Holtby, goaltender from the Capitals. We all watched Holtby and what the Capitals did this past season with that winning the President's Trophy. He had a .922 save percentage and a 2.20 goals against average, and set to tie the record for most wins by a goaltender, set by Dur back in 06-07, and winning the Vezina Trophy for the first time this past year. So Holtby's really come into his own since signing that huge contract that Washington offered. It seems to be paying off, and they're looking for it to keep continuing paying off for the Capitals this year. So, the Capitals seem to have had some playoff woes. Hopefully they can get over it this year, and maybe we can see Ovechkin finally get his Stanley Cup. Number 4, local guy from not from where I'm at, about 3 hours west of me. Jamie Benn, captain of the Dallas Stars, only 27. He's part of an elite 1-2 punch line in the league, kind of like Crosby and Malkin and Taves and Kane with Tyler Seguin. NHL's leading scorer last season with 89 points, so he's got an Art Ross trophy. He's kind of like a diamond in the rough, really. I don't think anybody really projected Jamie Benn to have the kind of start to his career that he has had, especially, being so young. I mean, he's only 27. He still has room to mold and evolve his game and everything like that. But he is a very dangerous scorer. Him and Sagan, I think, through the first 35 or for the first 45, 50 games, that him and Tyler Seguin were the only two on the team with 50 points, and they played on the same line. So, these guys pass the puck back and forth to each other. Dallas has got a new captain, got a face of the franchise with Jamie Benn. His brother Jordy Benn, I do believe, is still on the roster too. So that's pretty cool when you get to play with your brother. So, number 4, Jamie Benn. That's I like this selection for the number 4 spot. He is definitely a star on the rise. Definitely a guy you would want in fantasy hockey too, just for the point machine that he is. Number 3, Alex Ovechkin, captain of the Washington Capitals. Excuse me again. He'll be 31 on September 17th, the day of the opening day of the World Cup. But it's Alex Ovechkin. He's just a rocket. He's got the goal scoring touch. He is the goal scorer of this generation, and probably for the next for a very long time. He's just on a tear when it comes to goals and everything. He's reached 50 goals for the third straight season this year and everything like that. Is the only third player in NHL history to score 50 goals in a season 7 times, joining the legendary New York Islander Mike Bossy and Wayne Gretzky. So that's pretty, and they both each had 50-goal seasons. So, he's getting ready to jump up into some pretty good, company if he can keep this goal-scoring purge, as I'd like to say it, alive and everything like that. So, he gets a lot of work on that left-hand side on the power play with that right-handed shot, that cruise missile, tomahawk missile, J-Dam, whatever you want to call it, Jay. This guy's just got a howitzer. It's probably, I would compare it to the Missouri blasting off those big 18-inch guns, man. That guy's just got a rocket. He can hit triple digits on the gun for speed with that slap shot of his. And, I know goaltenders, whenever they see him wind up, they cringe a little bit. So, I can only imagine that I would probably cringe just as much as they would. So, Alex Ovechkin coming in at number 3, that I can totally see that one. Number 2, Sidney Crosby of the Penguins, captain, taken number 1 overall in 2005. He was before he was even drafted, he was already legendary. So far, he's got 2 cups, a Conn Smythe Trophy, 2 Art Ross trophies, the Hart Trophy as league MVP twice, and the Ted Lindsay Award for the most outstanding player voted by the players 3 times. So, as we all know, Pittsburgh won the Cup this past year, defeating the Sharks, and doing it on the road again, which has been the trend for Pittsburgh Penguins, always winning the Cup on the road. So, what's there more to say about Crosby? He's going into, I think, his 11th or 12th season this year, probably as the big face of the league, Jay. I mean, this guy's, him, Ovechkin, and, Patrick Kane, and all these guys are all faces of the league. So, when your name is number 2, you're expected to do big things. So, he hasn't hit the 100-point mark, didn't hit the 100-point mark last year, usually can do that. An outstanding playmaking ability, skating ability, and everything like that really kind of holstered a lot of that weight for that team last year to get into the playoffs and make that run to the Cup again. So, we're going to be looking to see, guys like Crosby and Ovechkin, up for the scoring race again this year for the Art Ross Trophy. So these 2 guys are going to be 2 guys to watch. Coming in at number 1, I can totally, go with this one, although, I know Toby, if he's listening. I don't know if you're listening, Toby, but I hope you are. But number 1 was Patrick Kane, right wing from the Chicago Blackhawks. As we all know, the last offseason, Kane had went through some off-ice issues, managed to get himself, clear of that and really focused on the season. Winning the Art Ross Trophy, first American-born player to win the Art Ross Trophy, which is a huge feat in the sport right now, especially with, so many pure goal scorers that have come just from around the globe. He set career highs with goals in 46 and 60 assists with 106 points. Also a 3-time Cup champion. He got his first Hart Trophy this past year and Ted Lindsay Award this year for the show that he put on. So he's never scored fewer than 64 points in his full season since they made him the first pick back in 2007. He's going into his 10th year, and I think he's only just going to be on the rise. He's only 27. I do believe, if I remember correctly, that he is 6th on the all-time scoring list for the franchise for the Blackhawks. Behind Stan Mika, Bobby Hall, Dennis Savard, Steve Larmer, and Doug Wilson, I think was the other one. So, he's slowly moving up that ladder, and some of those guys are some Hall of Fame guys. So, and pioneers of the game in Mika and Bobby Hall. So, when your name is starting to float up a little higher and getting up into that range, and your name's up there with Mika and Hall and Savard and all them guys, you've become a franchise, franchise legend. So that was the top 10 that the NHL released. All overall, I don't think it was that bad at all, really. Maybe one spot, like I said earlier, with Carey Price. But other than that, all these guys are guys that we're going to want to watch on games. Maybe even, these guys you definitely want in your fantasy draft. On your fantasy team and everything like that. These guys are going to be the ones that produce points, wins, and, trying to propel their teams into the playoffs, Jay.
Most definitely. You said that maybe not Carey Price. I was going to say play devil's advocate. What name would you throw in that top 10 that possibly wouldn't have been that's not in the top 10, or someone you feel maybe that they overlooked?
One that comes to mind is John Tavares, the captain of the Islanders. He's been in the league now a few years, and he is he was born to play hockey. His ability and his attributes, complement him as a hockey player so well. We watched him, with that heroics against the Florida Panthers in the playoffs this past year and everything like that. This guy is, a 30, 35 goal scorer. He can be an 80, 90, even 100-point getter for the season. It's just a matter of performing during the regular season and everything like that. Another guy I thought they could have thrown in there was Steven Stamkos, captain of the Lightning. Maybe another guy from the Lightning, Jonathan Drouin or Nikita Kucherov. Victor Hedman, evenly. So, I mean, it could have gone either ways, So, Carey Price, for me, like I said, if he has a healthy season, a healthy full season, and can propel the Canadians back into the playoffs and everything, I wouldn't disagree with him being in the top 10. He is one of the better goaltenders in the league today. He can perform. He has performed. It's just injuries have just been killer to him, Jay.
Got you. I always liked playing the devil's advocate and adding names to a list that people already feel that is already the perfect list. I don't feel there's ever a perfect list. There is somebody that almost everybody feels that should have been on the list. It might not be the same person. We could have 10 people on the show, and there might be 10 different answers. And that's what's great about being able to talk sports and have different perspectives of why people should be in their top 10 or their top 100 or whatever list we're talking about.
Yeah. But moving on, now that we're getting closer to the World Cup and everything like that, we're gonna John Tortorella, the coach of your Columbus Blue Jackets, has got the bench responsibilities for the World Cup U.S. team. And it seems to be that John Tortorella is struggling with the number one goalie decision. You have three amazing goaltenders. Ben Bishop, who's only 29, was second in the NHL with save percentage with over 92%, and was a finalist for the Vezina Trophy for the second time in 3 seasons. He's never played his best, to me. Really, his IIHF World Championship back in 2013 was a little bit kind of not cool for him, with only an 87% save percentage and everything like that. But since then, he's just blossomed into this beautiful flower that is a goaltender. On the other hand, you have Jonathan Quick, 30. He had a 91, over 91% save percentage last year, 21st in the NHL, but he was also a finalist for the Vezina Trophy the second time. He's a 2-time Cup winner, and he was the number one goaltender at the 2014 Sochi Olympics, where Canada got the U.S. in overtime. He made 36 saves and a 1-0 loss. So, Quick has the experience not only in the Stanley Cup playoff experience, but definitely the Olympic, international stage. He definitely has that. The past 2 goaltenders that the USA have had were Jonathan Quick and Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller being up in his, mid-30s right now. It would have been nice to have a young, primed Ryan Miller in his prime, his mid to late 20s, playing in this tournament. But Quick has the experience, and definitely has a resume in front of him and everything. Third goaltender on this list, Jay, Corey Schneider from the Devils, 30 years old. He's never won the Stanley Cup. He's never been a Vezina finalist, and has never played in a tournament like this. But last season he had a 92.4% save percentage, I do believe it was, and which is that's pretty good for a regular season. For a team that didn't make the playoffs, that's just, for a goaltender to have almost creeping up on a 93% save percentage for the regular season, and your team doesn't make the playoffs, there's something wrong with the front end of the ice. Schneider's only been in the league. He's been in the league for a while now, and probably has, I think if I remember correctly, has the best save percentage for his career, which is better than Bishop or Quick. And I think that was a 9.25 save percentage. And I think for the career, Bishop was only 92% even, and Quick, who is just I think 91.6%. So this guy's putting up some huge numbers, you know, and everything like that from the past couple seasons. You know, he split all that time with Roberto Luongo up in Vancouver when they were doing the two starting goalie trend, the two goalie look and everything like that, and played with Marty Brodeur for a little bit before Marty was traded out to St. Louis. And everything like that. But Corey Schneider is just a sound goaltender. His goals against average is excellent. His save percentage is excellent. Everything about his game is excellent. You know, I think with the team that the U.S. has right now, Schneider might, you know, be the long horse in this, Jay, to steal that number one role.
You know, and when I saw this, I actually had one question, and you know. And it kind of reflected off what Team USA did in the basketball team. Is nobody played a regular NBA amount of minutes. There was a lot of rotating. And I know teams want to get into a rhythm and get used to a certain goaltender back there. But with there being three periods and three of the best goaltenders that Team USA could possibly assemble and put together, what is the possibility, or why not? Or why is there not a possibility of just splitting it up? But why not each of these goaltenders get this opportunity to represent Team USA and each play a period?
Well, that's a very good question, Jay. And I can say on kind of personal experience being a goaltender myself, but never playing in a big tournament like this or anything like that. You know, plenty of playoffs and small-time tournaments that you find around town and everything. When you're a goaltender and everything like that, you know, goalies are weird. We're very weird people. We have our own, you know, superstitions, our own rituals that we go through. And a big thing for a goaltender, you know, is being loose and being ready. It's very hard for a goaltender, you know, to come in, you know, cold. Say if somebody is having a bad night or somebody gets injured and has to come off, or, you know, whatever the reason the goalie gets pulled. It's very difficult for a goaltender to get warmed up in that matter of time. You know, making sure your groins and your legs are stretched out right, you know, making sure everything is all good to go and everything like that. So, you know, they're just going to go with the guy that they feel is going to win, and if not, we could see you know, somebody get replaced and everything like that. But, you know, like I said, it's very difficult for goaltenders to really come off the bench really cold like that, especially as, you know, physically demanding of playing goaltender is, especially with the flexibility. You just don't want to risk it.
Got you. You know, as always, gotta love you coming in the studio. Gotta love you giving us your expertise in the NHL field. Miss Izzo, there you go. Miss Lee promised me moving forward that she has got the 9:30 to 10 o'clock blocked out on Tuesday night, so we won't make you come in early and work around the guests. So we'll see if she has another slip up. She's already done this twice, and so not that it's that big of a deal, but she did promise me that she did block it off. But hope you enjoy the rest of this week. By the time we talk next week, we should be down to about 4 days or so for the World Cup. So I know there's going to be a lot of things going on and a lot of excitement, and just looking forward to having you in the studio and getting us ready for the World Cup. I hope you enjoy the rest of your nights. We got our next guest lined up. We got to get her in here. So I'll holler at you later, and you take care, sir.
All righty, Jay. Everybody take it easy tonight.
Yes, sir. That's Izzo, our NHL expert. You guys can check him out on Twitter at 110 Puckhead. Almost forgot what it was. Perfect scenario tonight. Not only on the number one night here on this 110 Nation Sports Radio Network, not only for the fact that we've expanded our viewership, but the perfect scenario. We have a returning guest, and I always say this, Tuesday night, this is why this is our number one night. We have Izzo come on to the show at some point. We have a returning guest, and we have a new guest. we get to catch up with somebody who's been on the show and see how the year's gone, where we're at this point, and what needs to happen moving forward. And then we get to learn about somebody, and we get to introduce another athlete to the 110 Nation that you possibly never heard of, or maybe you just didn't know enough about that athlete. So tonight's one of those nights that just all the stars lined up, and it's a perfect night, and to include having Mike in the studio to help us out tonight. So very, very fortunate. Before we get Dominique on the show, I got to thank Fit for Life. Make sure you guys check them out on Facebook, Fit for Life. Make sure you guys go over to www.the110nationsports.com, right-hand side banner. Click on it. It lets you know where the closest location is to you, 24/7, 365. Get your gym on. And no, they didn't come up. I came up with that all by myself. 24/7, 365. Get your gym. I'm sure it's somewhere else. But, that was all I'm doing there. I really need to go into marketing, I guess. Clean facilities, great staff. Make sure you guys check them out. That's Fit for Life. Also, thanks Snafu Seasoning, the official sponsor of Racing with Big Sweat, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. All you do is call in, participate in the show. Big Sweat will hook you up with a free bottle. It's 100% all natural, no preservatives, meat rub, great on everything. Got to thank I-95 Sports Network and the Mile High Radio Network, both for rebroadcasts or syndicating our shows over on their network, all up and down the East Coast and now out in the mountain range, mountain region, whatever Mike call it. Out there in the Rocky Mountains, daggone it. For Pikes Peak, I've been out in Colorado once. Once or twice in my lifetime. But anyway, Dominique did call in to hear me talk about my trip to the Rocky Mountains and Pikes Peak and Colorado Springs and all that stuff. So without any further delay, let's get her on the show. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Glad to have you back on the show. It's great to be able to catch up with our guest and see how the year's gone, the season's gone, what's going on currently, and how the rest of the season and even possibly what 2017 is looking like for you. Before we jump into that, though, as always, got to give you an opportunity to plug yourself social media. It could be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I don't even know all the social media these days. Whatever you have to use that you want the fans to be able to keep up with you, not only 2016 season moving forward, any sponsors you want to throw out there, and any other bit of information you would like the listeners to know about you, keep up with you, website, team sites, whatever the case may be.
Well, I only have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and they're all under the same name, Dominique Racing. You can follow me on all of those, and I use them just those three frequently, and I'd like to thank my main sponsor, Durabite Incorporated, for helping me with this race season all this year and previous years, and also the RJR crew for all their work this year and all the hard work that we've had to do throughout the entire year, and also Terry Jones for all of his help as well.
Very excited. I can even hear it in your voice. Very good week for you this week, as you've had a pretty good task knocked off the list. What happened to you this week, and what did you do differently to have the results that you had just the other night?
Well, last night we ran at Greenville Pickens Speedway, a returning track that we ran at earlier this year in March, and qualified ninth, which wasn't too bad, but I ran a long, hard race and ended up getting a podium finish of third.
What did that mean for you to get a podium finish? I know I follow you on Facebook, so I kind of get to see a little bit of the stuff from our guests. But personally, getting the opportunity to have a top three finish and knowing that all the hard work from this season is starting to pay off, what was your emotions? What was your reaction for having this finish?
Oh, I was completely ecstatic and happy, just to say the least. It was an amazing moment, and I almost for a while didn't believe I could even get a podium finish. It was such a tough race, and after all the stuff that we've had this year with just random mechanical failures and bad luck with getting caught up in some of the wrecks and stuff. We haven't had a very good finishing this year, and just to be able to get a third-place finish is just amazing. And after all the hard work we put in and all the times that we've had to leave the track with a broken car and everything, it makes it all worth it, and it's just amazing. And I just can't get over it because it's so great, and I'm hoping that we can keep this momentum going forward.
The season so far, obviously ups and downs and making adjustments. What has it been like for you so far this season? Going into, I always like to ask this, going into the season, usually an athlete, no matter what sport you play, you kind of have a list of things that you know personally that you need to work on to improve your skills. If it's a quarterback, maybe the accuracy or reading the defense. If it's a baseball player, maybe it's changing up how the bat swing is. So maybe you're up on the fastball or lay off on a changeup, whatever the case may be. In racing, obviously, it's no different. Going into this season, what was your focal point on what you needed to adjust in order to have a successful season, and have you been able to make that adjustment? Is it something that's still in the works? Is it something that, yes, you've made the adjustments, and now you're starting to see the benefits of those adjustments?
The biggest thing this entire year has just been learning to cope with the B factors, where, like, that my competitors around me, if a wreck happens or a mechanical failure goes wrong, that's the biggest thing that I had and still need to work on, because that's the worst thing, and it's a factor you can't control. And it's hard when something goes wrong not to get emotional or caught up in it and take your focus away from what you should be doing and focusing on what you can't control. And this year I've been focusing a lot on that, and it's a slow and steady process, but making sure that I stay focused on what I can do and what I can control. That's been the biggest thing that I've been improving on this year.
Okay, Dominic, I have a question. I generally ask this of the drivers that drive on different tracks rather than one track as their home track. Is there one track that sticks out for you, or one place that you tend to run better than others, or maybe even enjoy running their layout rather than others?
I definitely like road courses a lot better, because that brings me a lot back to my roots, where I've done road courses basically since I've started racing. So road course racing to me is second nature. But for the oval tracks in general, there's been a couple of tracks that we've gone to that, like Greenville Pickens Speedway, that were just tricky to me, but that's because they were just tricky and hard tracks. The first time I went to Greenville, I was just terrible. And then I went and tested there and finally figured it out, and I came back one of the fastest cars on the track. So a lot of it has to do with just figuring some of these places out, because a lot of these tracks have different personalities to it, like a Darlington, where it may seem like it's easy, and then it's a totally different animal when you get onto the racetrack.
Right. I know that drivers have told me at different times that there's certain tracks they need to run on twice or three times to get used to it. I cover the Northeast, and the track that I cover mainly, all the drivers that come in there that say that don't run it on a weekly basis tell me that the guys that do have an advantage. And I was just wondering for you, in terms of going from track to track, if there's one that sticks out, and that's why I asked that question, because a lot of people, when you haven't run a track before, they might need 2 or 3 times to get used to it.
Yeah, that's definitely a true statement, where like road courses or the big banked oval tracks where there's a lot of speed in it, and it's sometimes you gotta take yourself a couple of laps to just get used to it, know what kind of pace you can run before you start pushing the limits, because there's a bunch of these tracks that we can go to, like Bristol, for example. You can't just blow it in through the corner or you're going to be hitting the wall and it ain't going to be fun. And a lot of these other tracks, like the road courses, when you have a long straightaway and all of a sudden you got to stop, it doesn't take much for you to, all of a sudden you're going to miss a shift or, you know, wheel hop and everything else. That for myself, I usually find that a couple of laps at the higher pace tracks just to know my boundaries is good, but the trickier tracks tend to be the flat tracks that don't carry a lot of speed, like Greenville. Those places are tricky to figure out sometimes because you don't know how much speed you can carry, but you also don't want to be too slow at it, and it takes a long time to figure those places out.
Now, you brought up something interesting in terms of the comfort level. When you go into a track and you haven't run it before, can you go up to an official and say, "Hey, can I have a little extra practice time?" Or do they allow for that? Do they say, "Okay, this person needs more practice time versus somebody who's run it maybe 6 or 7 times or whatever"? Can you actually go up and request more time in terms of practice?
For the NASCAR K&N series, you're allowed, I think, about 4 practice tickets that you can use throughout the year. And with those tickets, you can go to a track, rent the track, and spend the whole day there even to practice. But for a normal race weekend, you get what you get. If next race, we just have a optional testing day on Friday, so that's our extra practice day that we have available, where any other time that isn't an optional test day, all we have are those testing tickets.
Okay. No, I was just wondering on an actual race day, because I cover a track on Long Island where when we have tour guys come in and they don't run the track all the time and they haven't had a history there, sometimes they allow the tour guys to practice a little more than the weekly guys that are there every week. So I was just wondering if you could do the same thing in your series, or what happens with that.
We don't get that usually, and the only times where they feel like that's a concern, they'll take us out in a truck and kind of give us a rough understanding of what we need to do so we don't wreck ourselves out there.
Right.
Now, I want you to refresh my memory. If I'm correct, this is your first year over at Red Jones Racing, am I correct?
Yes.
How has that been? How has the adjustment been being over with that team, the relationship that you've built with the crew chief, with the team owner, getting used to, what their expectations are? How has that been so far this year for you?
It's been really good. Of course, there's been a couple bumps in the road here or there, but me and my crew chief have a very good understanding of each other, where we can generally get a car figured out pretty good. And when we're practicing, we have the same thought process of what we want to do, what we want to get done, so we're competitive and we can win a race. And this entire year has gone pretty good, and a lot of the stuff that's happened has just been bad luck, and it's just an unfortunate part of the series, and a lot of the times you can't believe how much bad luck we've had. But we're all in it together, and we're all a team, and we all work together. We all want it. We all want to win it, and we're all a cohesive team.
Now, how many more races you guys got, at least roughly? I don't know if you know on the top of your head. I'm sure you probably do. How many more races do you have left this season?
Officially, we just have 2 more races left. We have New Jersey Motorsports Park in a couple of weeks, and then Dover at the end of the month.
And out of those 2 that are left, which ones do you feel more confident that that's going to be the track that puts you in the victory lane?
I don't know, to be honest, because I feel very comfortable and good at road courses. Every time I've gone, I've had some sort of bad luck where I would have ran really well and just had bad luck. But Dover is a high-banked oval, and I excel and love half-bank ovals. And I've been told you're either going to run really good there and win or you're going to be terrible. So I don't know which one it is.
Now coming into the scene and kind of being a new face in the series down here, how's the fans been with you, and how how's the fan interaction been, and have you noticed an increase in your popularity and the exposure that you've gotten so far this year?
The fan interaction has been great. I probably have gotten rid of more hero cards than everyone else except maybe Harrison Burton, and that's a lot. We've gone through a lot of hero cards this year that I've handed out at every autograph session, and the exposure level has just been tremendous. Like, it's hard to say you're not getting a lot of exposure when some of your races are being shown on primetime at NBCSN. That's a huge amount of exposure that I've gotten that I haven't gotten previously, and it's been a lot of help, I believe.
Now, I'm going to place. I'm not going to place Steve. I'm just not the brightest guy in the world, and I have a lot of friends on social media that, and I could have asked this question many times, but I just don't. I don't know why I haven't. And you brought it up, so this is a perfect opportunity. I see this a lot with the hero cards. Is the hero cards basically like my collection of baseball and basketball cards, or is it a little bit different? And what do you guys do with those hero cards? Is it just something basically like a baseball card that you guys sign and hand out, just an opportunity to have the fans, be able to interact and have an autographed item? Is that kind of the gist of it? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, just on a bigger scale. It's like normally your front side has a picture of the driver in the car, so you kind of know what to look for on the track and off the track. And on the back is normally a bio where you can kind of get to know who we are. So it's on a bigger scale, so you can kind of understand better. Some people have smaller sizes, some people have bigger sizes, but they're like a collectible thing and also a way for the fans to learn who we are.
See, that's right there. That's what I need to start. Everybody that I've been around, I need some hero cards. How do I, after 5 years, not have a single hero card? How does that even happen? Like I said, I've seen them, but I've had Joe Martin send me shirts. I've had Reach send me stuff. I've had people send me stuff, but I have yet to see an actual hero card. And I guess that's why I've asked, because like I said, I see a lot of drivers that have the hero cards and talk about it, and I've seen them signing something, but I've never really got a good visual of someone's hero card. So I guess being on the fact that I've been doing this for almost 5.5 years, and yet have actually seen one in my possession, I guess that kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's like motocross is different too. They have a giant poster, and every sport has something different that if you don't really look at it, you wouldn't really know what it was until you actually got your hands on it or someone told you what it was.
Oh, goodness.
I have a question. As far as, and CJ's, I don't always ask this of drivers also when I try to do it, when I talk to people or talk to drivers, is there one, now, within your series, yes, you're competitors, but is there one particular driver that you are more friendly with than others and like to see them do well? If you have an off day, that you would root for a particular driver in the series?
That's hard to think of for my own series, because I mostly think of myself for that one. But there's a handful of people, but definitely for sure in my series, number one would have to be Allie Kern, because I consider us to be pretty good friends, and I always like to see a fellow female do well as well in this sport, because you don't see females do well, and that's definitely a person I would be rooting for if I'm having a bad day or anything that I have going wrong. I always hope for the best for her in any sort of situation.
Right. That's where I was going. Is there one particular person or one particular driver that you happen to be friends with just by nature? that you might have grown up with or is particularly close to, versus everybody, versus all the others.
I like that answer. Ali Kern has been on the show a few times over at Rev Racing, a fellow Ohioan. I think that's why I like that answer so well. But Ali's a great guest and a great driver, and always hope that she has a good showing as well. Do you have any plans so far for the 2017 season, or is that still too early out to know what the plans are?
For me right now, that's too early. We still have to finish the rest of the year yet, because I'm hoping to get a couple more races in October yet before the year is officially over. So we got to get right probably in December, maybe, hopefully before then we'll have a direct plan of what we're going to do next year.
Now, I want to step away from the track for a second, and there's one hot topic that I want to talk about here in a second. It's off the track, but it has to do with racing. But another topic, and I like doing this because I like the fans to have an opportunity to kind of know a little bit about our athletes that come on. What's probably the most interesting thing that you've been able to do during the regular season? You had maybe a weekend off, midweek off, whatever the case may be. And I always usually ask, what do you do on your free time? And everybody's either I go race or I go to the track or whatever. So I don't even want that to be the possibility of an answer unless that was the most interesting thing, not you racing, but going to maybe a particular race or a particular event. But I'm just looking for something that maybe, I guess I've done this so many times, that's always the most common answer. And then, you got your few that say, well, I'll go fishing or I'll go boating or whatever. But I'm just curious on what maybe the most interesting thing that you had an opportunity to sneak off and do, and I don't mean sneak like nobody knew, but you just got an opportunity to get away and do something that maybe you wouldn't have done, but because you was in a certain area or where you're located now, you got the opportunity to do, and it was interesting that maybe the fans would have had no idea that was an interest in you, or and maybe it's a funny story, whatever the case may be, but what's been the most interesting thing you've been able to get away from the racing and go do during the season?
Well, I got a couple. Earlier this year, a friend of mine had a open free ticket to a concert, and we both went and saw Panic at the Disco in Weezer, and that was really fun because I haven't been to a concert in about 3 or 4 years, and I love concerts. That just the atmosphere, the show, and just all the excitement and energy. It's always a blast. And before my summer was over, me and my family went on our very rare vacations, and we went up to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and tried to fit a week into a couple of days, and it was a beautiful area, and we went mountain biking and rafting, and we actually saw a black bear, and that made the whole weekend when we saw the black bear, because I've never seen a bear before, and they're like, oh yeah, there's all these bears in the area, and we hadn't seen a single one, and by coincidence, when we were heading back to where we were staying, there was a black bear, and we had to stop and take pictures.
I feel you 100%. Every year, it was kind of the halfway point. Until they rerouted some of the highways, that was the halfway point. My family's from Ohio. I'm down here in North Carolina. So Gatlinburg was kind of the halfway point. So every single year, as a matter of fact, October 7th through 9th, that is where I'm going to be, is in Gatlinburg. And it used to be where it was my mom and my aunt used to live in Kentucky, and all three we would all three meet there every single year. So my aunt passed away due to cancer, and so now it's kind of more of a personal kind of thing for my mother and myself. But I am the exact same way. We've been down there so many times, and every time we'll talk about, well, we ain't seen no bears this time. As soon as we say that, we turn around and there's a bear. There was one that, literally, I could have reached out the car and smacked the thing how close it ended. We ended up being to it. It was climbing in the tree. But yeah, you just sold me with the whole Gatlinburg thing. I don't care anything else you did in the off season. Or during the season, you went to Gatlinburg. You're A-OK on my list. That is something I get to do every single year, and I feel you 100%. We tried to cram a week's worth of stuff in 2 days. I'll fly out here Friday morning. We'll get there mid-Friday afternoon, and we'll be heading back Sunday about lunchtime. And we do the same thing every single year, and we act like it's the first time we've done it. We get in there. They moved the Rockola Cafe, so we're not doing it this year. It just wasn't as good as it used to be when it was in Gatlinburg. Now it's over in Pigeon Forge. But it was tradition. That's what we did the first thing. Then we walked up and down the strip, and then Saturday morning, it was me and my mother would go hit one of the trails. We would come back. We always did Cape Coves. We always did the Dome. Then we would come back. Saturday night was always hillbilly golf. You ride up the little airlift thing, and you play golf, putt-putt on the way down. And Sunday, and I was just talking about this at work earlier today because I was whistling and singing Christmas songs because I'm a big sucker for Christmas. I don't like spending the money, but I love Christmas. And if I can live, if there was an actual North Pole and lights and elves, I would be down to live there. But my Christmas season kicks off on our Gatlinburg trip because we go down to Pigeon Forge, we hit the Christmas place, a big, huge place, and nothing but Christmas. Like, this place is huge, nothing but Christmas stuff, and that officially starts our Christmas season. We come back, and that's when we start looking at getting stuff. We bypass the Halloween, the Thanksgiving, and all that stuff. I'm already in Christmas mode once I go to Gatlinburg because that is my official start off of the Christmas season. So
and I have to
you done won me over right there, knowing you went to Gatlinburg.
And I have to say, Dominique and her family are lucky that the bear let them take pictures. And usually that the bear didn't object. Put it that way,
Dominique,
yeah, it was pretty cooperative.
Yeah. You got a cooperative bear.
Must have been Yogi. Being a little quiet.
Yeah.
Must not have been stealing no picnic baskets. Dominic, I wish you the best of luck in the last two races of the season, and hopefully you get an opportunity to get a couple more in later in this year. Definitely looking forward to catching up with you later on, either after the season or as we approach the 2017 season. We would love to know what the plans are, and definitely want to be able to keep up and keep updated. Like I said, I definitely want to wish you the best of luck. Looking forward to having you back to enjoy the rest of your evening. Good luck, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Good luck.
Thank you so much, Bert. Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Yes, ma'am. You have a great night.
You too.
I tell you, I'm done in. Gatlinburg's it. You might have just that might have just became my all-time favorite driver right there. And I'm sure she's not the only driver that goes in Gatlinburg. But just because of what it means to us, my family and myself. Like I said, we go every single year, and we do the same thing. Every once in a while, we throw a small, slight twist into it. Not much of a twist, and it might be just something simple, just like last year we did the Rockola Cap thing, like we do every year. But they moved it last year. They went from Gatlinburg to Pigeon Forge, and it's just not the same. And we did throw in last year. We did throw in Dolly Parton, whatever that. The horse show, I forget, Dollywood or whatever it is. I finally sat through that and did that, which it's a very expensive activity to go to, but it's well worth it. The meal you get and the show, it's a show. I mean, you get a good, I think, hour-long show, whatever. But for me, being the size guy I am and was able to eat everything that I was offered and found it very good and was very full. That was well worth and the little fiddling show that they put on before you actually go into the show. It was a great time. I definitely enjoyed it. We got our next guest in the studio, but before we jump into that guest, I got the host of Racing with Big Sweat Thursday nights, 9 p.m., brought to you by Snafu Seasoning in the studio as well. I want to pop him in here real quick. As he was trying to jump in here before Dominique came on, and I want to give him an opportunity to see if he got something today. So we're going to let him throw out there what he's got to throw out there before we get our second guest on. Steve, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, CJ. How about yourself?
Can't complain. And as one great legend would say, I'm finer than Froghair.
There you go. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
How's it going, Steve?
Well, I've had better days. I want to take the opportunity to use your forum for just a minute. I have really made a serious error, not so much in judgment, but just in ignorance more than anything else. A driver named Robert Ballou, I had invited, saw a post saying he had the post said, quote, a nasty crash and was taken to a local hospital. And I had invited him to be on Racing with Big Sweat, and I've come to find out that it was a very serious crash and that he broke his back in the crash.
No.
So me asking him to be on the show at this time was really an ignorant and not insensitive, because I didn't mean it, but it was the wrong thing to do. And I just wanted to come on the air and apologize right now to Robert Ballou and his family for my mistake, to give them my sincerest apologies, and I hope he has a speedy and complete recovery from this, and I'll say a prayer for him. But I felt real bad about the whole deal when I found out just how bad the crash was. And like I said, it was ignorance on my part. I didn't dig into the information any deeper to find out more. I just took it as, well, sprint car drivers crash. That happens, and they usually walk away. But this isn't the case, and I hope word gets back to him that I'm very sorry for this, that I hope he accepts my apologies.
Well, we'll do everything we can to make sure that the word gets to them. And, Steve, we know, I know from personal experience, you would never do anything to come off as insensitive. And, you take what you do very personal and take a lot of pride into what you do. And rightfully so. You've been around this sport for such a long time, and this has kind of been your family for so long. And, there's no doubt in my mind that it wasn't something that you intentionally set out to do, that, it was all in good intentions. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the driver and the family here from the 110 Nation. And I just ask everybody out there listening to keep him in mind, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery, and we'll see him back on the track real soon.
Definitely. Yes. I just want to add, Steve, you're not ignorant. You're human. You can make a mistake, and that's human.
Yeah, I did. I made a mistake. I should have dug deeper. I should have checked into it more to get more information, and I didn't. And it's a hard lesson to learn, but I've learned from it. But I really feel bad about it. I don't want to come off as that type of person. I mean, my show means a lot to me, but any driver's health and well-being means more to me than my show does. And I'd hate to see this, happen to Robert Ballou. From what I understand, and the reason I wanted him on my show is he's a great sprint car driver, and I thought he'd be an interesting guest, and it just kind of blew up in my face. And like I said, I just wanted to come on the air and extend my apologies and just tell him just how sorry I am for all this.
Like I said, we'll do everything we can to help get the word on and get the word over to them. And I'm sure that they know that, I'm sure all the details weren't out at first, and I've fallen victim to that as well. I've not done the research that I should have done before I've opened my mouth or sent out an invite, and I think everybody's kind of fallen victim to that, and you can just tell in your voice that it's really bothering you, and we'll make it a point to reach out to the family and make sure that they know that our thoughts and prayers are with them, and looking forward to Thursday night and hanging out with you and Chris, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the night. I got my guest hanging out, and I need to get him in here real quick before we get too late in the show. But Steve, thanks for calling back in. I know we've been just a little bit back and forth, and do you have something else?
Yeah, nothing. I need to call you after the show on your personal line. There's something else I've got to talk to you about that I don't want to talk about on the air.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Give me a call.
All right, bud. I'll talk to you later, and I'm going to sit here and listen to your show now.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get our second, I guess third guest. Well, I don't know. I can't count those as a guest since he's our expert. So our second guest, first-time guest on the show. So we get an opportunity to learn a little bit about our guest and get an opportunity to introduce this athlete to our fan base. Clint King, race car driver as well. Looking forward to getting to know a little bit about Clint and get to hear about what made him, decide to be a driver and what has gotten him to where he's at now and what the future holds for him. So without any further delay, and I do apologize for the delay, let's get him in the studio. Clint, how you doing tonight?
Hey, guys, doing good. Appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to have you on. Like I said before, we had Dominique on the show. This is the perfect show for me tonight. I got a co-host with me. I got an expert in the house. I get a first-time guest and a returning guest. I love having one of each. One getting to learn about somebody, and then getting to the other one getting to catch up with somebody that we've had. So this is a real good thing for us, and I love having the opportunity. Before we jump into this, like I do with all our athletes, I want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself, if it be social media, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and whatever else platforms out there, whatever you have to use to keep up with the fans, personal site, website, sponsors, anything you want to throw out there. That way the listeners get to know a little bit more about you, not just racing, maybe personal as well. And that way they get to keep up with you in 2016 and moving forward.
Right, absolutely. Definitely like to push the media outlets all we can. That's how, obviously, all of us as race car drivers or any professional athlete stays in tune with their fan base, and obviously that's as important as it's ever been. So definitely those listening tonight, when you get a chance, give me a follow on Twitter at Driver Clint King, also on Facebook with Clint King Motorsports. Snapchat, Clint King also. We got a lot going on this weekend with Snapchat. Should have a live feed of all the racing going on for the rest of the year for me. So we're trying to get more involved on the media side of it. I know everybody really likes to stay up to date, and that's the best way to do it. So if you guys get a chance, definitely give me a follow on all those outlets. That way you can stay up to date with what's going on, not only on the racetrack, but we try to keep it fun and interesting and see what I'm up to all the time, whether it's most of the time it's work, because unfortunately with sponsorship and funding to put these racing deals together, kind of had to take a back step on the career of a race car driver over the past couple of years, and you've seen a lot of me in the material handling and supply chain industry, where I'm a systems design engineer as far as come up with storage systems for distribution centers and do the design work, and actually went out and installed some. So I guess you could say I had to get a real job where I had to really work hard and make a living for myself. But in the meantime, still worked on this dream of being a race car driver, and fortunately it's all starting to come full circle for me.
Now, this question is always interesting to me, and the reason it is because I have a daughter, not biologically mine, but I've raised for 16 years, so it's my daughter. I have a 10-year-old son, and I have currently for the last almost 3 years helped raise what is now a 5 and getting ready to be a 6-year-old. And I can promise you that I could put them all at one end of the house, even to include 18-year-old at this point in her life. I can put them all at one end of the house, and they cannot make it to the other end of the house without tripping over something, running into something, or anything else. So my first question is always interesting because I would never dream of putting any of my kids in any kind of go-kart, race car, anything. So this first question always blows my mind to hear your guys' answers. What age did you get started in racing?
The first chance behind the wheel for me competitively was about 7 years old. Drove the little Bandolero cars that run with the Legends series across the country, and started that competitively around right at the tail end of 7, just about 8 years old. And to go along with what you're saying there, I have no earthly idea. Now I see the 7, 8, 9, 10, even 10-year-old kids do the go-kart stuff and the Bandoleros and the quarter midgets. And I think to myself, how in the world was I focused enough to go competitively race something like that? And the answer for me is I have no idea. I do know that a lot of times my dad and my grandpa both would be standing on the grid for the heat race, and I'd be playing football in the field with my buddies, and they'd have to come round me up and get me in the car and make sure I got buckled up before we went. But that has always amazed me also, and it hasn't been too terribly long ago that I was that kid. So it's definitely a lot of fun to see the younger ones in there. But strapped in at 7 and somehow got focused enough to make it work and win some races at a single-digit age.
So you're at the track, but you're playing football. You managed to participate in probably the most expensive sport because there's no local city funding. There's no getting your pads and your helmet for free. Everything's coming out of your guys' pocket up at least until you get to a point that you're running in the top series. But on your way up, you and your family are paying for everything. With that all being said, what made you decide to be a race car driver?
Honestly, I grew up in North Carolina. I'm from Thomasville originally, which is, only an hour or so north of Charlotte, and Mooresville, which is the capital of all motorsports, really. And I grew up, with it around me constantly. My entire family was race fans. We watched racing all weekend long. It was on TV. I was watching it from as long as I can remember. As soon as I could hold my eyes open, I'm sure I was watching it. My dad and my grandpa both were actually grandparents on both sides, had some involvement in motorsports, one more so than the other. My dad's side, they actually helped a guy locally that was probably the top late model stock racer in the country at the time, and he won all the big late model shows that there was to win. And I remember going at a really young age and him being my hero and just falling in love with the sport, everything about it, being around it so much. And always dreaming about the opportunity to actually become a professional race car driver. And no drivers in my family. I was definitely the first one to get behind the wheel, definitely some mechanics as far as the motorsports field goes. But the first driver got an opportunity. My dad and mom got me the Bandolero car one year for Christmas as just kind of a toy, really. Just we were going to play with it and see what I liked because it was a little more glorified than the yard cart that I had that I tore up the backyard with all the time. And they wanted to get me out of the yard so they could get some grass to grow. So we went to the racetrack and got a shot to do some practicing, and practicing went pretty well, and I was actually pretty good at it, and ended up racing, and it kept building, and we started winning races and winning national events, and then came championships, and then I really got it bad then after I had the chance to start winning and driving. So just really growing up around it, man. It's been in me since I was born, and a lot of people around me were into it, and just fell right into the trap while the rest of us did.
Now, what always had an opportunity to drive, and at what point did you know I'm going to make this a career? This is definitely what I want to do. This is no longer a hobby. This is no longer them keeping me off the grass, this is what I want to do the rest of my life?
I guess it was really along the time. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, I started with the little Bandolero cars, and once I gotten pretty good at it and won some races and actually had some championships under my belt, it's really when we took the next step up to the Pro Challenge Series, which really isn't anymore. It's a shame because it was a great series. It was kind of a parallel to the Allison Legacy cars that were so popular at one time. And we started running that series. It was a little 3/4 scale, had a 1200cc motorcycle engine. I mean, it's really cool, like a shrunk down late model, or like a super late model with the way the suspension was set up. But we started running that and actually saw that there may be some potential talent-wise, just that we continued to win at a higher level and won the Northern Region and the national championship in that. And it was along those years running that series that we started to set forth a development plan for me, where I needed to be and what age I needed to be there. We were always very careful. I do admire my parents. They were never pushy as far as that I needed to do it. It was always my decision on how far I wanted to go with it. They were totally behind whatever I decided. Obviously, they enjoyed it, being big race fans and the whole family being race fans, but it was never a do-or-die situation for me, and I think that's why I was so interested in making it to the top, because it's what I wanted to do, regardless of really what they wanted, which helped a lot. But it was really along the Pro Challenge years that we decided that this could be something, and we set forth a development plan and started to put people in place to make that happen, and ran all the way up, ran through the late model super truck ranks, and then obviously the late model stock side, and progressed right up into the ARCA series. Along the time I turned 16, I was already making ARCA starts for Venturini Motorsports, and that was a big opportunity for me. Obviously, those guys have great equipment, and we got some great opportunity to run well in a high-profile series, and made it in that deal a couple of years. Ran a lot of short-track races just due to age, and also ran some Canyon East races. But everything was progressing really well up until the point where it gets really expensive, and that's the difficult part with the sport now, is that your talent can only truly take you so far. Now, there's a lot of guys that I grew up racing with that are very talented race car drivers that have never gotten a shot and may never, because they don't have the funding to put behind it. And unfortunately, that's the king now, is who can bring the funding to do it. And unfortunately, like I mentioned way earlier in our chat tonight, that I got to that point in my career where we didn't have the funding lined up. I didn't have a ride, and it just, you can only go so far. The old saying, you can't sell the farm to race. So we had to make a living and had to eat, and it got to a point where it didn't make logical sense for us to keep dumping money into this, family money, and we needed to figure out a way to fund it. So that's kind of where I got with the career, probably 2 years ago now, really. Done some one-off races here and there, but just over the last year, it's finally started to come around for us.
Clint, I'm interested in because when I did research on you, reading a little bit about you yesterday, the fact that you've already participated in 3 series, is there one that you're more comfortable with or enjoy running overall the others? If somebody said to you, okay, you can only run 1 series, is there one you would pick over the other 2?
I really like the ARCA Racing series. I like the cars, and I like the way the races are ran, and I like the racetracks they go to. Development-wise, you have all the horsepower, really, of a cup car now. You're on a radial tire. You get to make pit stops, and just the places they go, like Salem and Winchester, Berlin, just some great short tracks that this country has to offer. They've got it, but I'm really looking forward. Obviously this weekend is big for me because it's a giant step in my career, going outside of the ARCA series, making my Xfinity debut Friday night at Richmond, And I'm hoping a lot of that ARCA stuff will correlate into that. I know the Xfinity cars are a little more underpowered, and obviously they have more downforce than the ARCA cars do. So looking forward to that. Hopefully that since the ARCA car has been my favorite so far to drive, I'm hoping a lot of that's going to carry over into Friday night with the Xfinity Series and yield a good result for us. But definitely have to say, up until this point, until we run Friday night, the ARCA Racing Series has been my favorite.
Well, I just wanted to you brought up something with the Xfinity Series too, and just to give you some insight, I know somebody that started in modifieds in the Northeast and still runs them occasionally, and he's now running the Xfinity Series too, Ryan Priest. So to give you some incentive, or not incentive, but it can happen that you can go from the local weekly tracks to, as high as you want to go, and you just need a break here and there and somebody to notice you. And so it's apparently happening for you. As you said, look, maybe not as quickly as you wanted, but finally things are starting to break for you, and I wish you luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. It's been, honestly, it's been a 2-year process of putting the package together that we're finally breaking ground with in the Xfinity Series, and with the NASCAR brand behind it, it's got a lot of potential to it. I definitely got to take time to give a big shout out to J&L Wire out of Minnesota for taking the chance, and they're not really taking the chance because they see what we're trying to do here, but Gary Hyde and everybody at J&L Wire for believing in this platform and this program we're putting together with supply chain awareness, with me being a project engineer and a sales engineer within the industry. I create an excellent spokesperson for them that can intelligently speak to their clients, and as far as hospitality events and things of that nature goes, we'll be able to sell their product right at the racetrack. And the best news is I'm the race car driver too, so their spokesperson is going to be on the track and in the suite and helping them sell products. So that's really what it takes now. It's just having these relationships that nobody else has. You have to think outside the box. The days of sponsorship handouts, we need X amount of dollars for a rolling billboard, that really doesn't exist anymore, and that's kind of what we're trying to get through to people, that the old days of the old school sponsorship stuff isn't working. So we've got some excellent opportunities. Huge thanks to J&L Wire for making this first start possible, and we're excited to have a bunch of those guys to the racetrack this weekend with VIP passes. They'll be in the pits with us, and we're hoping that they really enjoy their time and we can put some more races together for this year. Definitely.
And again, I wish you luck. And it's being at the right place at the right time, and have somebody, as you say, with money, with sponsorship money, notice you. That's part of the battle, because then once you're out on the track, your talent speaks for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's half the battle to get there, and once we're in the door now, once you make that first start and you get into the NASCAR realm of things, and you've positioned yourself as one of the only 40 guys get to race that race in the world Friday night. So now you're there, you've got somebody interested, and you've got somebody that takes the chance and puts their money on the line to market their product and try to get the return on what they're investing in this. Now that you're there, it's half the battle's over. Now it's to show them why they're there and why they should come back. So we're super excited about it. I'm excited for so many levels. Just to finally be, that's a dream come true of mine, growing up watching the Busch Series then, and turning into the Xfinity Series now, and actually knowing that I'm going to strap in and run with some of the best guys in the country Friday night. That's a really cool deal for me. So super excited about it, and definitely looking forward to it.
Right. Thanks. Good luck. Okay.
I got 4 questions. I'm gonna keep it at 4 questions, even though I got a crap ton more questions. I'm gonna keep it questions, and I'm going to get you out of here. And two of them have to do kind of stem off this last weekend. One, with everything going with Junior and the concussions and how that's kind of been, I don't know, brought more to the attention when it comes to racing. Most of the time we think about the NFL, we think about the NHL. We don't really think about race car drivers. With all this talk with Junior and not finishing the rest of this year due to concussion, as a driver, does that approach any? Does it make you guys think about it anymore? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I don't think it affects many of the drivers at all. It's, we've come so far, definitely within the NASCAR realm of things on safety now that it's so rare that anything happens. It's shocking. I think that's why this whole Dale Earnhardt Jr. thing has just been so shocking, because you don't hear of driver injuries much anymore. In the circle track realm, I know the dirt and the sprint cars, that's a different story. Those guys, those are real men that drive those things. But it doesn't. Me personally, it doesn't, because you strap in there. It's what you love to do, and you assume that risk. Now everybody's so cautious with their safety stuff now. You don't cut any corners. NASCAR's great about it. They're even sensitive down to the amount of roll bar padding that's in those cars now, and it's come so far to where there's still variables, and unfortunately we're finding them. But eventually, I think most of them will be taken care of. The whole concussion deal that's arising right now, it's one of those variables that we haven't been able to fix yet, because there's only so much you can do for it. But I think NASCAR is doing a good job with protocol as far as impact testing. I know I just got mine done to get my NASCAR license last week. It's all important, and they're taking good steps to rectify stuff like that. But there's still variables, but that's one of those things. If you're going to do this, just like a football player, if you're afraid to get hit, you probably shouldn't play football. So motorsports is the same way. You can't. If you love what you do, you're willing to risk yourself for it. And the true racers, it doesn't bother them, but you're leery of it all the time. But the real race car drivers, they put that aside and they go do their job and assume the risk.
Now, the next question I'm not asking you to take sides unless you want to give your side or opinion, either one way or the other. But last weekend we saw one hell of a finish to the Truck Series race. And NASCAR fans, they want the boys to be boys, and then they be boys, and then now got people complaining and moaning that was dirty and too rough and everything else. My only concern is, do we have a repeat of last year with the Chase where they let go a little bit with Kansas and Logano? Then when Kansas retaliated, then NASCAR wanted to step in. I thought if you're going to do one, you should do the other. That's just my opinion. What I'm looking for from you is this last weekend, was it a bit much? And like I said, if you want to give your opinion on the two drivers, that's on you. But was it a bit much? Is that what we should be? Is that the racing? I mean, I grew up watching Dale Sr. And watching him and Taylor Labonte beat and bang many different times. So this brought back memories. This got me out of my seat. I enjoyed, regardless if I wanted. Obviously, I wanted Cole Custer to win. I wanted to see him get into the chase. I wanted to, it was a great race to watch. But I have no bitter feelings to Joe Hunter, because I felt that that was me. I probably would have done the same thing. But was it a bit much? Is that how NASCAR needs to go back to being? Well, just on the intent of what happened, what was your thought on that?
Well, for entertainment value, it was excellent. Everybody's talking about it, even those that aren't NASCAR fans. I know Cole Custer's already got, here in North Carolina, with all of our Panther fans, he's already got the new name of Cole Keekly. I think Corey LaJoie laid that on him last night as being the new starting linebacker for NASCAR. But it's, I as a driver, I have to look at it from both sides. If I'm John Hunter Nemechek, I'm going to put the bumper on him coming to the line. I'm trying to win that race just as hard as he is. So I'm going to lay the bumper to him, and if I'm Cole Custer, I'm going to protect it. The deal on the grass, to me, it's a little over the top. I think you can keep the trucks on the pavement and still win the race. Anybody with logic could see that John Hunter had to race one. He had the momentum. He was going to pass Cole before he got to the line. No need to run him in the guardrail all the way down the straightaway. I thought that was a little overboard, but for the fans, man, it's great. And even the tackle, I like it because it's, you know, I grew up Saturday night short track, and that happened every week. So entertainment-wise, it was excellent. For the guys that's got to build the trucks, not so excellent, but you know, it's one of those deals where if I was on either side of that, I could see why one would be mad at the other. I mean, it's one of those deals where it's not really one you can call one way or the other. They're both going for a win, and some people take it a little farther than others would. But good show. Definitely something that'll get talked about for a really long time.
I really love the part where you're watching the cameraman just watch Cole Custer, and you see him out of the corner of his eye, see John Hunter on the front stretch trying to get that checker flag, and him just to take off and just hurdle that wall like it wasn't even there. And Cole's a pretty thick guy. Just to see him hurdle that wall and just go, that was beyond. I about fell out when I watched that. This week, Xfinity Series debut. Obviously, you want to find yourself in victory lane. What are the goals for this weekend's opportunity for you in this series?
Well, this weekend for me, it's all about seat time and experience. We're partnered up with BJ McLeod and BJ McLeod Motorsports. Those guys have been building a good little. It's a good small operation. You know, they don't have a ton of guys in the shop. They don't have a ton of race cars, but they've got some good technology. They've got some good help on the engineering side that they're starting to pick up on. So realistically, we're locked in, which is great, which means we'll start regardless of weather or how we qualify or anything like that. But the main thing is to run 250 laps Friday night, run the full race, try to minimize mistakes, get on and off pit road, and be as clean as possible. And learn as much as I can. Obviously, with NASCAR approval, you gotta work your way up through the series as far as running some short tracks, and you get approved for speedways and approved for super speedways. So I gotta get through Richmond Friday night as clean as possible. So we've got some other races in the works this year that are pending my approval to run the speedway. So we got to get through the race as clean as possible, and obviously the finish we should have a good solid day overall. If everything goes right, we'll for what we have and what those guys put into it. If I do my job, we should have a very respectable day up there. So the ultimate goal is to run all the laps we can Friday night, keep the thing in one piece, and ultimately keep the sponsors happy. And get them enticed to do some more racing this year and hopefully a lot more next year.
I love having BJ on the show. He's great. I think last time, we ended up talking like 50 minutes. I love having him on the show, and he's just a cool guy. I said I had 4 questions. I got one final question for you, and this would be 2 answers depending on your age. As I didn't get into how old you are. I know you said you were still on the young side, but a veteran, which, and I don't want to ask because you're going to make me feel really old, but at least I won't be as old as Mike over there. But I have 2 answers because I'm an older guy. I grew up being a Bill Elliott fan. Now I'm a Busch/Danica Patrick fan. Favorite driver all time growing up, or who you idolize, and if it's changed, who is it currently? If it's the same, then that's cool as well.
Honestly, I just turned 21 a couple of weeks ago, so I'm still pretty dang young. But I really admire. I guess I would go with more of a current day driver. I really admire and always have admired Jimmy Johnson and what he's able to do. Not only his driving ability, I really have to say Chad Knaus too, because that's a pair. It's not one or the other. It's the both that makes them so good. I admire what he does week in and week out, and the class that he has, regardless of the situation, whether if he gets flat out wrecked or he's in the winner of the race. He seems to have the same attitude every single week, and I really admire that. And his ability and Chad Knaus' ability, it speaks for himself. Obviously, one of the most talented duos you're ever going to run across. So I have to say Jimmy for that reason, just because I admire what he can do with the competition that's present in present-day NASCAR. It's really incredible. And if I had to model a personality and an ability, I would definitely like to model it after Jimmy.
Well, Clint, I definitely want to, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. And we have a pretty good track record of returns. I think anybody we've asked to come back. So hopefully when this lead sends that email your guys' way, we'll get you back on here and catch up, see how your Xfinity Series debut went or how the season finished up, whatever the case, whenever we can get you back. But I definitely want to wish you the best of luck in your debut. I'm sure that you're going to make everybody proud, to include BJ over there, for giving you that opportunity. Definitely want to wish you luck the rest of the season and moving forward. And like I said, hopefully we get you back on here real soon. You enjoy the rest of your evening, sir.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate you having me on, and we'll definitely accept the offer to come back anytime.
Good luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you much. You have a great night, and we'll be catching up with you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Bye. Wow, one. And I tell you what, not only was tonight one hell of a show, and our guests between Izzo and Dominique and Clint, I couldn't ask for a better trio. I'm going to try to match that tomorrow night, because we got Mark Rhett Jones of Rhett Jones Racing joining us, and we got Allie Owens joining us as well. Very excited about that. Every time I've had Mark on the show, we have gone and gone. Miss Lee made sure to leave an hour block for us, so Mark and myself, we can just shoot the breeze. Don't know if he's got that much time available, but we did leave that big block open just in case. It seems that there's two drivers it seems I can get to stay on and be on there for a long time before we realize it. And Mark is one of them, and BJ McLeod is the other. Not that the other guys cut me off. I'm sure if we wanted to keep going, Clint probably would have gave us plenty of time, but we're already past 15 minutes past showtime and everything else. And I got 3 hours sleep last night, and I honestly started the show. I was wondering if I was going to make it. But having Izzo and these two great guests on the show has me wide open, and it's good because I got a bunch of press releases and articles and stuff to get out. Let's get things wrapped up. Mike, I'm going to let you go first. Let them know where they can find you Friday night, how they can follow you, how they can like you.
Sure, CJ. Thank you. First of all, real quick, I have 3 possibilities. Now, today I was a little bit busy, but I'm going to get back to these people, and hopefully they got back to me via message. 3 good possibilities, which tomorrow I will definitely have the announcement to be made. My social media, you can get me on my personal page, or the Hot Laps with Stats pages. The fan page, specifically, I'm asking for fan input on our October 7th show, which will be a rebroadcast of a prior episode. And so give me your favorite episode, and we'll see what comes out of that in terms of a fan vote. And the one that, if there's one that sticks out, we will definitely run that one. Otherwise, I have 2 or 3 favorites that I could pick from. My Twitter is @Stats108, and you can also catch me on the 110 Nation pages where I post and write a blog and some articles as well. A golf article specifically on golf, and then my Riverhead Raceway blog as well. Plus, I'm helping Shannon out with his stories. So, as usual, busy with the 110 Nation, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Again, thank you, CJ, for giving me all the opportunities, and Steve from way back when. Definitely, you guys will be number 1 on my list and always will be. So, definitely tune in Friday night. I try to vary the guests a little bit so that fans know about not just the drivers, but as far as the Northeast scene, asphalt modifieds, 3 or 4 or 5 different tracks in the tri-state area. We have support staff coming on, hopefully. And in the next few weeks, we'll have Bob Finan, an announcer, and a couple of support people like that. So it's not just the drivers, the fans learn a little bit about somebody or anybody around what makes a small track go. So that's basically my show, and I enjoy it. And we hope that the fans, CJ and myself, learn stuff from it, and we hope that the fans do as well. And that's basically it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Make sure you guys check me out on Twitter at CJ Sports 1, the 110 Nation, at 110 Nation. Make sure you guys check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our site, www.the110nationsports.com, for everything going on at the 110 Nation. Trust me, there's a lot of things going on over there, so make sure you guys tune in and jump in over there and check that out. Don't forget, the 110 Nation Sports Show, Monday through Wednesday, 8 p.m. kickoff time. Thursday nights, racing with Big Sweat, 9 o'clock kickoff time. Back at an 8 o'clock slot for Hot Laps with Stats on Friday night. Noon, we got the happy hour garage. Then I like to wrap things up Sunday night with my final thoughts with Mr. CJ Sports, 8 p.m. on Sunday. And then also, of course, on the Spreaker platform, which we end up getting rebroadcast here after the 110 Nation Sports Show Monday nights. But the original airing, 7 o'clock, Rubbin' is Racing, Steve Billmeyer and myself. I got to make sure that I thank Fit for Life. I got to thank Snafu Seasoning, I-95, Sports Network, Mile High Radio. Without you guys, all this would not be possible. So I got to make sure I thank each and every last one of you. Don't forget, tomorrow night we got Mark Rett from Rett Jones Racing joining us at 8:30. We got Allie Owens joining us at 9:30. Mike and myself will be in the studio hanging out for the entirety of the show. You guys, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night. Do not be late. 8 o'clock kickoff. Until then, you guys have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110 Nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.